Colleagues, good afternoon.
Меня зовут Bisovko Evgeniy, и я
My
являюсь
name is Evgeniy Bisovko, and I'm the head of the project Department of Security Vision. And
Мы в Security Vision ежегодно
how in
внедряем
Security Vision we implement best practices. So we introduce different SOAR solutions for different structures. We automate different processes for different clients.
На самом деле одни и те же.
But it seems that they have the same problems when implementing, and the errors are the same. So those errors are the same for all clients. So in this presentations, I will
провести проект по внедрению
try to tell you how to introduce SOAR solutions.
Отталкиваться лучше всего.
Here we start. So let's start from the bottom.
Образ прям плохого внедрения, прям, ну, прям.
Let's just imagine the best implementation. What can go wrong? So how does it look?
Мы разработали какие-то.
Stakeholders are not happy. Everybody's unhappy.
Абсолютно не соответствует потребностям компании. Мы не понимаем, как по этим процессам работать, хотя вот.
So they say they don't understand how to work with the processes. The money is paid, and so vendor left, everybody's left. So what to do with it? So analysts are not happy with the quality of product. It's very inconvenient. They spend a lot of time, so we burn out. First, we had this very deep automation and the practice of responding, and as a result, we didn't get it because we don't have access. And with every update, we get really nervous because we don't have enough competences for the product, and we can't even add any integration on our own. We need integrator or vendor and support, technical support, and it's so in order to get this full house actually takes a while. So when we talk about unsuccessful implementation, 1-2 points actually play here role. So what to do to avoid all this? Let's start with the initiation of the project. So the law I love, victory requires preparation, and as preparation for SOAR solution, this is the maturity evaluation of your security. If you don't properly do it, so you won't be able to build the project properly. So you need to know what to do. So the start point of SOAR, you need to understand where you are. Let me stand like this, otherwise you won't see what is on the slide. So this is a very simple scheme how to do that. So what we think is a low level of maturity. This when you don't have any response processes, you don't have any technological solutions, you don't have a team. And what to do in this case? Don't do everything at once, like one project. Go to the market, choose a product that you like the best, take its box version. There will be already some processes, some basic integrations. They will implement this box for you. Then so you live with it for say like 6 months. And then you need second project, consulting project. So you brought consultants, then know what SOAR is. So they have a team. Together with consultants, you think about how to do a proper automation of the process, how to do it properly. And only after the consulting project, you do the final stage. You have the professional SOAR solution. And during consulting, you will decide what will be the depths of automation, and the team will be. But don't mix together the implementation project and consulting project, because during consulting projects, oftentimes we spend a lot of time for approval, and all the deadlines get delayed. Big company, many stakeholders. So if you spend time on consulting projects, you actually consume all the time that you need for introduction and implementation, and you will be pushing them too much. So that's why it's better if you separate these two parts. So if you have a medium level of maturity, so you have some processes, so people can understand how you respond, but it's not described. Maybe you have some experience of working in some system, maybe ERP is there with you. So then maybe you don't need a box solution right away, but you will need consulting. And only if you have a high level of maturity for the InfoSec. And people and processes, everything is described. You have a very good team in the SOC, and this depth of automation that you need to get. So you need to formalize all the requirements, you need to come up with the specific requirements, and then you can begin with the implementation. Then it also has to do with the maturity level of InfoSec. So if you don't have the source of incidents, then you don't have SOAR solutions for those incidents. Oftentimes, we get on a parallel implementation of CM and SOAR, and you never get a positive result when you do it all together. So when you have the idea and you need SOAR, you need to look at the systems you have, with whom you want to integrate. You need to understand that all the systems are at least used, and maybe those who are just planned to be introduced, and you probably don't work with them. So it's just at the stage of initiation, you don't have any contract yet. At the initiation stage, when you kind of made the decision that yes, project will be implemented, so then you need to involve stakeholders, because usually it's always many stakeholders.
Наши любимые товарищи. Но когда если мы их в начале проекта не уведомим, что мы будем
If at the beginning of the project we don't tell the stakeholders that the system will be working automatically, and we don't explain to them the value of it, so it will be very difficult for us to talk to them. So at this stage of integration, we'll tell them, so we'll give everybody the admin privileges and all that, so it's not going to work well. So you need to explain everything to them, and then you'll get the proper involvement with them. So when you passed all these points and you initialize the project from the point of idea, it's all well, so you had the tender and the contract, and then you get it. So what to do at the start of the project? So you need to bring together a team. Implementation team on the side of the client, it's very important. When it says people are everything, and as you can see, each role that we can see here, we need to find this person. Sometimes it's just one person will be responsible for 3 roles, but we need to understand, to see that we have everybody whom we need to. We need the owner of the product. We need to give them all the privileges and the rights so that they can make a final decision on the functionality of the system, especially if you have a very complicated infrastructure. And
исполнитель, какой-нибудь вендор, там, интегратор скажет, а вот, ну, владелец продукта с вашей...
Say vendor or an integrator will tell you, we need the owner on your side. Then you need the head of the project. For example, you implement a SOAR with 30 integrated systems. Just imagine how many communications, how many tasks you have to have in the company. So somebody has to manage that. All the deadlines and stuff. So you need to have this person. Then you need to have a sponsor of the project. So usually this is somebody who owns the budget. And so if there are big issues, so we escalate the issues to him, her, and they tackle them. So, and we also need to tell them what's going on with the project. Then we need to identify the main users of the system. At the implementation stage, we need to see who's going to be working in the system, working with the cards. So we need to bring them to the testing process and the requirements for the system. Often people forget about it, especially when you implement it with the lack of a team. And then the team comes and says that they don't like what happened. So that's why bring the users at the start. Then responsible person for each integration. So you need to build communication with them. Not when you have the access. You need to do the whole thing in advance. They need to know what you want from them so that they do all the approvals. So we need to know the person who is responsible for each integration and the one who is in charge for the whole infrastructure, the person who administers databases and servers and all that, and that at the administrator of the system, the owner of the system, the one who will be doing updates, functionality. And if you don't bring them on board right at the beginning, So you will lose a lot. There will be a slide, and I will tell you later how important the person is. You need to find the administrator at the start of the project. So you have the team, now you need to build the processes properly. And it's very important factor of success. And here you can see the stages and of that, and you need to remember how it's going to work. First of all, we need to set up all the integrations. SOAR without content is not livable. Without data, without setup with other systems, it's not going to work. First, you need to bring there the whole model of data. You need to set up all integrations with the outside systems. And after that, you will be able to set up working processes and the model of assets, an end-to-end process. You will understand what the final functionality you have. First of all, you give the access to all the integrated systems. Secondly, you set up integrations, and then you set up the model of assets. And model of assets is a basis, and without it, you won't be able to build the vulnerability detection process and playbooks and all that. So that's why the assets model, you have to set it up right away. So after that, you can add the vulnerability process management. So that's how, in brief, it looks. So if we go a bit deeper, then let's look at how we going to do it in work. I told you.
Well, I told you guys, like I've told you, that, speaking of SOAR solutions, it is impacting a lot of stakeholders within the company. So we need to listen to all the stakeholders. We also need to understand that integrator who is introducing a vendor, and you name them, they're also one of those stakeholders. What can we do to make sure that we listen to them all? That's real, and we need to decide functionality of this SOAR solution to some kind of functional blocks. What is a functional block? This would be like a preset functionality, which is, giving us like a final value. You can test it, and this piece of our project is workable. So you can split up your project into those like functional blocks, like asset model, for example. If you set it up and test it, and then you can pretty much work with it. You can take some library, launch it to do the inventory and manage your assets. Vulnerability management process, it's also another functional block. You can set it up, you can work with tickets. One playbook could also be like a functional block, and those type of incidents can be processed. So we need to divide all these projects into those functional blocks. And also we need to make sure that we kind of split up the work for each functional block to manage changes, to involve product owners into testing and managers as well, and give them communication windows to be able to modify the product. We recommend the following flow. Like, first of all, you build up requirements. It's like a scope on the scope or consulting. Next, we set up this functional block and do demo for anybody interested. So those guys, they tell us like what we like, what we don't like. And next, we put it into a testing. As a part of the testing, we need to identify resources to make sure it's full. Even the only operator will come into the system, like it may take like 2 hours and they can give whatever information, but this is not like a real testing. Several cases to see how there'll be a feedback, performance provided by the integration, and to see if it'll be convenient, if it matches what we want. And then we get quite a big list of things which we also improve and this functional block will be put into prod, into production. So it's an adaptive model, but most importantly, because we are involving users into the system, they're learning how to work it, they're getting used to it. It is not like, okay, this is the full functionality. No. You, when making very first steps right here, when developing working processes, it's like a first 10%, which, the cost, they will be involved into using the system. They will be, with the subsequent testing, provide a better and better feedback, and you get like a super efficiency. Next, it is very important for us to understand the sequence of the processes. Like I was saying before, number one is developing assets, because otherwise we'll not be able to do the testing or build our kind of reaction or feedback. Next, we need to identify some kind of general playbook. And this will be the kind of reaction, or response for all the incidents for which we did not develop like a specialized playbooks. It will be like a basic escalation, basic SLAs we have, and basic admin letters. This is where we start, because this kind of general playbook will be like a logic of everything we're going to be developing later on. So having experience of this kind of general process of reaction, we can test better and communicate with different playbooks. Next stage, and I recommend it in this functional block, you take 3-4 playbooks of different categories. For example, phishing, VPO, and DRB. Like playbooks which are really unlike one another. Why? Because having tested those in a right way, then we're going to spend less time on changes when we will be doing like a similar playbook. So we have like a 3 VPO playbooks, and having tested them on the stage number 3, like one of those playbooks, to be able to introduce changes, you can take into account like this kind of outcomes of the testing of the very first playbooks. And then we can do visualization, and we recommend to do it after you implement all those playbooks. But if you need to do it a little bit before, welcome, no problems, you can do it. You can move on this stage. Next. This is what we need in implementation. We need to get product competence. Because when vendor of the system integrator are working on implementing the product, I guess this is the best way when you can teach your admin to work in the system. Just imagine a situation when you're done with implementation. It's been a month, you've hired an admin, and you've sent them to like a teaching course. It's a Saturday, 10 p.m. and 27, business critic is dropping, and your admin, they've never been working with a case like that. They can do some upgrades and updates, but speaking of emergency, probably they will not be able to do that. And the vendor support L3 ticket system 5x2, we lift up account manager, you're gonna escalation, it's not like super great. How to make your admin turn them into a Jedi? You want them to work with the implementation team throughout the implementations. So we need to understand from the onset. Kind of vendor training should be done from the start. And they have to understand why the system, what kind of playbooks and processes and all that, and this will be better. And next, you need to involve this admin in the process of the system tune-up and setup. For example, implementing some kind of out-of-scope work. Yes, it can be done in-house, but it also has to be done in consultation with the vendor. And so our admin will be able to soak in all the implementation team competences, and you're going to get like a super pumped person. And in operation, it's good to do some upgrades and updates because, okay, guys, you do your own upgrades, but it's better if your staff will be doing it with a vendor consultation, and they would be able to know it all. So this is how we get an admin, a trained admin, who will be ready to work in our system, develop it. And SOAR system is quite a quite a living entity. You get new systems, you get IT landscape of our company, and there is a new need in the new integration, new processes, and upgrading the existing ones. And every time it is not worth to enter into new contracts or to do it as a part of the tech support. It's not even convenient. It is not really manageable. Every time you have to come up, reinvent the wheel, so to speak. But you have a regular admin who'll be developing system and having the full set of competences. This is cool. Now, let's sum it up. One conclusion are the risks, the main risks when you're implementing, a long approval of processes with all the stakeholders when building requirements. The way to mitigate that is you dedicate a product owner who is managing the scope, and a sponsor. Sponsor will be escalating those moments. But all this a playbook approval should never be a 15 iteration, never ending, and especially when the functional is implemented. Let's reconsider playbook. No. This is not the way to go. The sooner you begin to use something, the better you begin to understand your project. And then again, from the regular admin, you can fine-tune it. Next is getting access. I guess this is one of the pain points in implementing SOAR solution, especially in major projects like 50+ integrations. Oftentimes, the access to them you expect for a long time. How can you test your playbook functionality if you cannot build a reaction? Is it good or not? How it's going to happen? And even if you did not get an access to the source of data. So you involve IT department from the very beginning, you explain the value, and you communicate this whole project with them. Low user satisfaction. Well, we involve them on the testing stage, and they build changes when we do SOAR solutions, and also unmanageable demands. Change management is painful, so it's important to build rules of the game. You cannot implement SOAR by just one tech specification. It's not going to work. Well, we never did. You always have some extras. You always have some things your client did not count. New desires, new things, but you have to do it, or the scope of the project is breaking, you do not get the result, you do not get the system into operation, you do not get the value. And one option, like the way it was described in adaptive model, when we give specific communication windows for their feedback. As for the technical risks, if you come to this concept, when developing functionality with test operation, we need to use a bench, test bench, because it's a big technical risk. Then you have to do upgrades. It's always a risk. We need a test bench. And also, once you got the access, and the next data system or your API is not right. And this is why we thought about integration, and we did it on the stage of initiation. And this is how we mitigate this risk. Well, I think I'm done with this, guys, and I would like to finish up with the boards. If you do it with a high quality, if you do it well, it's going to be fine. If you have any questions about SOAR-class solutions implementation, let's talk, let's debate. Any questions? No? Then thank you very much and have a wonderful day.